when we think about some of the pitfalls of people when they're doing due diligence is they think they need to know everything out of the gate. And if I heard you right, you correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like you guys are a little bit more, you've gone through the work of being sophisticated to know what you need out of the gate and what you can do later on down the road. Like, I don't need to see copies of your leases. I don't need to see contract copies. I don't need to see environmental studies. Like, here's the 5 or 6 things that I need to validate the fit, make sure it's part of our why, make sure the cultures are aligned to get the valuation right. Like, we need to answer those 4, and then we'll get the offer, and then we'll do all the other painful sausage making down the road. Is that how you guys think about it?
Yeah, that's correct. We really think about it in 2 phases. There's the initial upfront, can we get to the dance? And then there's a confirmatory due diligence, which comes after the LOI. Let's go confirm what we believe to be the case. Make sure there's no showstoppers. Make sure there's not some undisclosed litigation, customer concentration risk, human capital risk, something that is going to really materially derail the deal. And as long as everything checks out, then you move forward. If it doesn't, you pull the ripcord and you punch out.
Yeah, I love the phrase you use, confirmatory, right? It should be, we've already asked maybe the question, hey, you have no HR problems, right? No, we don't. Okay, I'm going to put my value in based on that fact, and I'll validate it later. And if it turns out, no, you actually you lose a third of your staff every year, maybe there's a problem there. maybe it's not what you told me to be.
Yep, exactly.
Is that just kind of going back to the workload things? I know a lot of the audience is probably thinking, hey, I'd love to do it. Just sounds like a lot of work. Do you staff differently then once it gets a little bit more serious? Like when you have signed a letter of intent and you're going to close, like that's, in our experience, that's the workload goes up in that period. And so is it still the same group of folks that you go to and just going to say, hey guys, it's going to be a little bit heavier for the next couple of months while we get this thing done?
Yeah, at that point, we'll pull in a few subject matter experts into the discussion. People who will be more deep, for example, on like an HR issue, really dive into the nits of the HR issue that might be a potential problem, to understand it and advise us. But it's nobody's sole job. It's a little bit of everybody's job, and we all just dig deep when it comes up. I'd love to tell you that we have the resources in our 350 teammates to rush out and just dedicate a strict M&A team and then an integration team. We don't. It's just not how we do business. But it's worked for us.
Yeah, and I guess some of that comes down to sort of the pace, right? I'm sure if you all as a leadership team sat around and said, hey, we want to go from 1 a year to 4 a year, okay, hey, we can do it. We just probably need to bring in a full-time body to help us do it, or we need to find those hours elsewhere. But at 1 or 2 a year, you guys seem to have the internal capacity and expertise really to do that.
Yep, that's accurate.
You brought in an interesting word of integration, where I want to go next. When do you start thinking about life after the transaction?
Long before the transaction.
That's the right answer.
Yeah. We focus on integration early on. We build our investment thesis around what parts will be integrated, what parts can be integrated, and what teammates will stick around after the integration. Because that's the limiter in our business. We have to have people to go do the work, and that work is essential to realizing the investment thesis.
Yeah. And so it starts out early on of sort of thinking with the end in mind. What point does it get very tactical in terms of, okay, you're reporting to this person, we're going to move the financials over to here, this is what we're going to do on the brand? When do you get tactical on that integration?
Yeah, so typically that's about 30 days before the confirmatory due diligence is complete. So as we're going through that confirmatory due diligence, we're going to make sure that the way that we've conceived an org chart, a financial process, an IT system is really the way it is, because if it's not, the integration is going to change dramatically. And we always want to be mindful of that.